Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, D Hamp, where we cover everything all sports. Today, our show is about Indiana and that horrible performance they put up against Notre Dame. I tell you, it was bad. I I thought Indiana would put up a better showing, but they didn't. They went out there and laid the egg, and there's no doubt about it. They played horrible. Um, I'm gonna give you a little stats before we check out some of the clips. It's some people out here that believe Indiana should have made it. It's some people out here that think they shouldn't have made it. My personal opinion is they probably shouldn't have made it. I'm just looking at some of the teams they beat going down the stretch. Hey, hey, it is what it is. You could pull it up. I mean, I got the stat. Look at it right here. They played UCLA, not a good team. Not a good team. I'm gonna talk to you in a second, John. But they played UCLA. They beat them 42-13. They played Charlotte. It's early in the season, so they're filling their schedule out. And before I move on with their schedule, I want to say that it's no shade. I thought Indiana was a good team. I just didn't think they was the best teams. How you doing, Nancy? And That should have been in the college playoffs. My personal opinion. They beat Charlotte 52-14. They beat Maryland 42-28. We all know Maryland's not a really good football team. They okay, middle of the pack, not a great team. Okay. They beat Northwestern. Need I say more? They beat them 56-7. They beat Washington 31-17. Washington is a pretty decent team. I'm not going to take anything away from them. That was a good game. That was a good game, and it was a good team. They beat Michigan State, not a good team at all. 47-10. They beat Michigan. We all know Michigan is having a down year. 20-15. They lost to Ohio State, where they got ran off the field, which is their toughest game. And of course, they beat up on Purdue. And we all know Purdue has been horrible this year. So, my personal opinion is that they probably shouldn't have made it. And going to John's point, where he says that this is his point. Not good enough for SMU at Indiana. That means Tennessee is not good enough since they lost to Ohio State worse than Indiana. And one thing about Tennessee is they had an up and down year. Now, the only reason I'll give Tennessee a pass, only reason is you got to think they played a way tougher schedule than Indiana. I mean, you cannot deny that they played a tougher schedule. So just given that on his face. Now, did they go out there and lay it egg? Hey, they did, and I'm going to talk about it. But right now, we're going to stay on the Indiana and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, to me, played better than I thought they would play. I knew they was a solid team. I knew that they had a decent defense. I was a little shaky on their quarterback, and just was not really sure how they would perform. But to me, Indiana just had no answer. And we're going to start off looking at some of these clips just to prove my point. And Notre Dame defense was playing really well, really well. Now I know what you guys thinking. At that point, they got that interception. Y'all thought y'all was going to roll. Y'all thought that, hey, y'all was going to come out here and bring the noise and really get with Notre Dame, but it just didn't happen that way. That was probably his best throw of the night, in tight coverage because they was on his tail the whole game. I mean, they was not giving him that first half. If you just look at the numbers in his first half, I mean, they were bad. They were bad. That's all I could say. He overthrowing receivers, underthrowing receivers, and just not making good decisions. Now, if anybody want to dispute that, hey, you didn't watch the game. But he didn't have his best game. I know he could play better. He just didn't have his best game when he needed to have his best game. Right there, I knew they was in trouble. I knew they was in trouble when Jeremiah Love broke this long one. I had to pause it there because I was thinking like, y'all not going to catch this guy. This guy's out of St. Louis, Missouri. He was a speedster at CBC, and coming in as a freshman, he was making plays, and I mean, damn. And after that, I kind of knew, and that was early in the game. I was like, they might be in some trouble. I mean, I just really felt that way. It was not a lot of resistance. They defense tried to hold up, but Notre Dame was just a little bit too physical for that because Florida actually was a good team. Remember, they quarterback got hurt. They came in with a freshman. He balled out. Uh, I really think Florida could have beat them. You know, Alabama was up and down, but you're missing the key point. All those teams, and I'm not an SEC fan, but all those teams in the SEC are competitive. The ACC, I mean, the Big Ten is top heavy. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. And then you guys were kind of middle of the pack. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. I mean, you might not agree, but I mean, the way the playoffs is set up, to me, it's a money grab. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, because we already know those first round teams probably wouldn't, well, most likely not going to win. As we see, all of them got blown out. So offensive line is just getting mauled, completely mauled. I mean, there's no other way that you could look at it. They just hadn't played, besides Ohio State, that caliber of offensive line that they of Notre Dame. They just haven't. Unless somebody else want to tell me in the chat that they have, because it's not the debate of whether Tennessee or Clemson or any of them. You know, Indiana had a pretty soft schedule. Yeah, it is what it is. It's just the way that stuff are lined up. Same with SMU. They just had a soft schedule. Now I see John's point, but when I look at you're missing the point. The SEC is a better conference than the Big Ten from top to bottom. I mean, just top. You take your three out, and Missouri, they okay, but they'll probably beat all the bottom feeders in the Big Ten. I mean, they'll beat Illinois, they'll beat Northwestern, they'll beat Purdue. You know, they'll beat all these teams. Texas A&M, middle of the pack, but they'll probably, run it up on those. Ole Miss had a great season that, if it wasn't for them and that sloppy defense, they probably would have did better, So I understand that they didn't play them. And the point that I'm making is Indiana can only play who was in front of them. It's not their fault Michigan had a down year. You know, it's not their fault that Purdue hasn't been anything since who Drew Brees. It ain't their fault. Northwestern is crap. I mean, it's not their fault. Now we're just going to get into the first half, and I'm not downgrading them for playing the teams. I said they play the teams that's on their schedule. You have to listen. They play the teams that's on their schedule, but that doesn't mean that because they beat all the teams on the schedule that they should be in the college playoff championship because it's flawed. When you look at it, you make it a case. I'm not even making a case that it should be another SEC team in there. It probably should, but I'm not making that argument. The way it's set up is, it seems to me, is that they want, of course, SEC teams, Big Ten teams, and then you maybe get one out or two out of the ACC, one out of the Big 12. But and the Big 12 was down too, but hell, there's some teams in there could have played better than Indiana. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's the performance that they put on the field. In the first half, you figured Leonard, he was Well, this is Leonard from Notre Dame. He was 11, had 11 completions, 87 yards, one touchdown, one interception, 20 yards rushing. Rourke had six completions, 77 yards, zero touchdowns, one interception. They only had a total of 51 yards rushing. Now, you're just not going to get it done just playing like that. And and they had to find a way to turn that game around with some turnovers and rely on that defense. Because really, the defense, I mean, they offense put up some points, but their defense carried them a lot. But when they came up against a defense as good as them, whether it was Notre Dame, whether it was Ohio State, we saw what happened. And that's the part that I think you're missing the whole point of whether they should have been in there because some of the SEC teams are more battle tested. I'm not making a case for them. I'm just saying that they are. Now, we're going to talk about a little bit about the SMU and Penn State game, which was another. Whew, that was another debacle there. I can't even. SMU. I'm gonna be honest with you guys here. I thought they speed will cause Penn State some problems, and it didn't. It just, I mean, Penn State just looked like they were uh, just they just ran over them like they were just not even there. I mean, they didn't put up any fight, and that was just sad. It was sad to see because I really thought they would play better too. So, and of course they didn't. So we're gonna tap in this game here and uh and see what actually happened in this game here. And like I say, Penn State, I was a little down on Penn State. I'll be honest with you. I knew they had that rock solid defense, and I knew that they would be formidable because of that defense. That defense is no joke, and that defense will take them a long way in the college football championship. But they got to find a way to muster some points against some good teams that's coming up. So that's going to be their problem. This game here, and SMU turned the ball over a lot. They uh, they look shell shocked. You could tell that they hadn't been on that stage before, and they hadn't been in big games before. Off the game here. Simple answer to the question. Indiana deserved to make the CFC more than any other team that didn't make it. I disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree. Now, there's no reason. You have to remember, it's a reason why at the beginning the pundits was pushing them to be in there, and then after they lost, what did they say? They were like, "Yeah, they probably shouldn't have been in there. There is probably some other teams that we know from the eye test that's better than Indiana, better than SMU. But the way it's set up, it failed the way it failed. You know, did they get a bad draw? I mean, probably so. If they go back and do it like they should do it, and just say all the conference winners outright just get a bye. You know, Clemson should have got a bye. There's no way Boise should get a bye. I mean, really, do we really think Boise is better than Indiana? No, I don't. I mean, I don't think Boise is better than Indiana. Boise ain't really showed me nothing all year either. But that's neat here or there. It here. I'm not understanding your response here. Our test. If our test is all that matters, just name me 12 teams before the season start. We can't. I mean, we are, but you damn sure know after 10 games who deserve to be there. You're not going to know them at the beginning of the season, but after 10 games played, you know teams that probably should be in there. But the system is not going to allow them to be in there. That's why you have people like Paul Feinbaum and them talking about certain teams that should be in there. So, you know, I think your gripe with me is is really not with me because I'm just going off the system. I mean, the system is what it is. They got in. Did they deserve to get in? Yes, because of the system. But if the system wasn't set up that way, they probably wouldn't have got in. Frankly, to me, I don't even think they need a 12-team playoffs. I mean, to me, it's a money grab to get fans more engaged, which, hey, we are. We engaged. But we already know that the way it's set up now, those teams that's coming in at the bottom tier, they not going to be able to. The chances of them winning a national championship is slim to none. This is not NCAA basketball where you got Cinderellas that run through all the way to the finals or the Elite Eight or the Final Four. It's football. And if you ain't got the horses up there to compete in football, you're not going to beat these big teams. You're just not. Uh, it was pretty much to me showed they should have been in there when I seen them play Ohio State. I'm just gonna be honest with you. When I seen them and it wasn't competitive, I'm thinking like, okay, if they get a good draw, then they can get a win. You know, could they have beat Clemson? I don't know. I don't know. I think Clemson might have got them. You know, could they beat Notre Dame? Well, we've seen what happened. Who else that blew out? Tennessee. That'd have been an interesting matchup. I think them and Tennessee would have been an interesting matchup. But the way it's set up, it's just what happens. Okay, John, if you want to say they're right, but hey, it was right by I guess the way the committee picked them. But we all know they if you talk to a majority of the people, they will tell you that hey, it's probably some teams that shouldn't have been in there. I mean, seriously. I mean, come on now. It just we can go down and look at some of the competition and stack up tell me Indiana's signature win. Tell me their signature win. Did they even beat anybody that's ranked this year? I mean, did they? We talking about final rankings at the end of the season. Did they beat anybody ranked? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And I'm not even railing against Indiana. I actually like them. I thought they actually played really good ball this year. I really thought they were a really good team until they played Ohio State. And then I just said, okay, they just don't have the horses, to compete. You know, they just don't. It is what it is, you know. My point on the which team should have made it, it's okay if Indiana made it in. I mean, it's okay. I'm not knocking that. The system is what the system is. I've always been in the opinion that it should even be a 12-team playoff because we already know, I don't know how old you are or if you old enough to know. I remember when they just picked the best two teams. The AP poll picked this team, they played in the Orange Bowl or the Rose Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or whatever the bowl might have been at that time. And it was the argument that, yeah, these work the best two teams, but they pretty was right on the schedule. It was some teams maybe that was out there. Then they went to the four teams. And then you had these other teams that's talking about they should have been in. Now they want to go to the 12 teams. It's all just a money grab uh well, I'm glad to hear that. I don't know if you know how old I am, but if you think you are, that's fine. But the point is that you could expand as many teams as you want to. Who has a realistic chance of winning in football? Like I say, this is not uh NCAA basketball, and you're not going to just have a Cinderella team like they were arguing for James Madison one year. Oh, they should have made it when they were undefeated. Come on now, let's be serious. Let's be serious. I mean, come on. Oh well, hey, I'm close to you, so you're not much. Hey, I just look younger because I got a little lotion on my face or something. That's all. We're around the same age, and but the point I'm making, I remember when they was arguing, now they going to the 12 teams, but I look realistically why they did the 12-team playoffs. 12-team playoff basically came because of teams were opting out of, or players were opting out of playing in bowl games. If players were still playing in bowl games, then uh, they probably wouldn't even have these in, you know, and they was trying to bring excitement from from the bowl games, because they were losing revenue. People, players not playing, people not going to the games because players not playing. So how can you get players to play? Okay, well, we'll create some excitement, some buzz, make these bowl games because basically these bowl games here are just really just the bowl games that would have been, throughout the year. The what am I trying to say? The Christmas bowl games. So they bring an excitement that way, which is a good thing for college football. I'm not even knocking that, but the point that they're just trying to turn it to, oh, it's a championship. Now we all know that the real games start after Christmas, and that's the way they wanted to set up, leading up until January, the beginning of January, and and if they didn't change the format, then we give me one second, John. Do we have players play in the bowl game? Let's see here. Want to have players play in the bowl games. Tied NIL money to participation in the bowl games. Well, that, that's tricky there. I mean, because you got to remember, even if, all right, the NIL, that's a whole different another animal. So I don't even want to get in the player's pocket, whether it's good or bad or what I think is the way it's structured is bad. Okay. It is what it is, but we got to take it how it is. I don't like the fact that people pull out after 5 games and enter the portal and getting picked and stuff. But the point of it is that players were not playing in bowl games. Now, this is even before the NIL came along. They were not playing because of the simple fact it was like they didn't want to hurt their draft stock. The draft stock was the big thing of why these players wasn't playing. Now, I don't know the validity to that. We could just go off what we read in the reports. But to me, that they had to get that excitement. I mean, I don't know if they were getting paid. I have to do my research on it. And I do know the schools get a stipend for being in certain bowls and stuff like that. But the biggest thing, the attendance was down. I mean, you go back and if you take all your star players off the team, and then you go out there, you got you playing in a bowl, and you might be, we're gonna say Indiana, since we're talking about Indiana, you coming in at, with one loss, and then you're playing we'll say Liberty, you know, your guys like, well, we ain't got nothing to play for, so why are we gonna send our dogs out there and play? And and then Liberty have everybody playing because it's more for them to gain. So, you know, that was the biggest thing. How can we get these players to play in the bowl games too? It all factors in, no matter how we want to look at it. I mean, it just the money tied to these bowl games, they had to figure out a way to make this happen. So I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic of college football, especially with the NIL. And I'm kind of going off topic here because they're going to have to change some rules with the NIL, and I don't know who will do it. We all know the NCAA section and body is kind of a sham. You know, they don't have any teeth. Going back to Maurice Correct, uh, it's just a sham, and it's a lot of stuff that they can't do, and they're afraid of getting sued. So we don't know how that's going to shake out. I mean, I do know it's some good things and bad things, good things and bad things. There's some good things that allow players to transfer. Uh, Bad thing is they get poached off by more teams that have deeper pockets. Put it like that. You know, is it a level playing field? It's a little bit better because you got teams like Alabama that used to have, 5-star athletes sitting on the bench. Well, hell, why would you want to sit on the bench at Alabama? You're a 5-star and you can go play at Syracuse and start and get money, you know? I mean, you can get paid, get 300,000 or 100,000 or whatever they're playing. I don't know. A lot of this stuff they're not even releasing to the public. So, you know, that's one thing that is interesting. The dynamics of the NIL. Now, they need to tweak some of that, but we're going to go back on to the talking about these playoffs games here because I still think that in the Notre Dame Indiana game, we're going to go back to that. Is that I don't know if Indiana had a good game plan for Notre Dame. That's I don't know. I mean, I watched Notre Dame a lot this year. Now, granted, it's hard to judge them off of playing Army, um, I think Air Force, USC, USC had a down year and things like that. But I knew their defense was pretty good. They were coming on strong at the end of the year. I Now my honest opinion, I thought Indiana would make it a competitive game. You can go back and watch some of my other videos, and it'll tell you that I thought that would be more the competitive games out of the two. But I was wrong. I mean, I was wrong. I thought they would be able to be more physical than well, not more physical, match their physicality of Notre Dame, but they just weren't. And you could tell that it seemed like Notre Dame had, been a little bit more battle tested than Indiana. And like I say, there's no knock against Indiana. I think they had a great squad. Matter of fact, I want to shout out a guy that I know personally from, well, not the player. I know his dad personally is Lionel Carr Jr. His dad, me and him actually played football together in high school. So, and he plays on Indiana defense. So I do want to shout him out. And, it's all love to his dad. He's I'm not bashing. I'm just here to just tell it like it is. It's no knock against them. And they just didn't have a good game plan. They just didn't execute. So, now what are we going to do about the college football playoffs? Now, we're set for the second round. And the second round is going to be quite interesting. And let's see here. Let's see if we can get this second round pulled up here. Let's see here. See here. Let's see here. Okay, that's not what I wanted there. Let's go to that. All right, let's see here. Let's see what we got matchups here. There's going to be some interesting matchups coming up. Okay, so we got Penn State at Boise. Now, my thought against on that is okay, and right now, Penn State is almost a 2-touchdown favorite. They're 11-point favorite. Boise is an 11-point dog right now. I think Penn State gonna roll them. Just be honest with you. I don't. That's another team. I just think that they got in. And like you say, if you want to put 12 teams in there, that's fine. Hell, are they better than Colorado? Or are they better than Kansas State, are they better than. They don't do nothing for me. If they win that game, I'll be surprised. Even if they cover, I'll be surprised. Uh, Another team out the Big 12, I have watched them play this year, uh, which is Arizona State, and they're 11-2, but they're going up against Texas. I just don't think that uh, I don't think they got the smoke for them. I just don't think that Arizona State they haven't played that kind of football. That Big 12 was, I'm not going to say it's horrible, but you know, it's just not a lot of powerful teams in there. It's some teams that got offensive talent in the Big 12. I thought K State made a good run. I thought Kansas played pretty well. I thought Iowa State played. They all played well, but I mean, it was a toss up. My personal opinion, I would have liked to see Colorado made it just because they just got the uh, offensive weapons. Do you really think Arizona State going to upset Texas? I don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening. Uh, could it happen? Yeah. And if it does, you tap in, and I'll go live to check that out. But I just don't see that happening right now. They're a 2 touchdown dog right now, 14-point dog. I just don't think that they get that smoke. And where's that game going to be played at? Anybody know? If you do, let me know. Tap in and let me know where that game is going to be played at. Uh, Georgia, Notre Dame. Now, I don't know if Carson playing for Georgia. I think he's hurt right now, so I don't know how that game will shake out. You know, you know, you got. I really don't know without their starting quarterback. Georgia's 11-2. Notre Dame is 12-1. So, uh, uh, okay, thank you. There, it's in Atlanta. Okay, at the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Thank you for letting me know that. Yeah, I'm a little bit. I don't know on that game. I'm gonna dig a little research on that game. Right now, it's basically a pick 'em. They got Georgia favored by a point and a half, which is a pick 'em. You know, Notre Dame could easily win that game. But I don't know. I mean, I think Notre Dame will have some problems against that Georgia defense. Because they're not really a prolific passing uh team. They more of a run dominant team, and you're not going to just run the ball down Georgia's throat. So that game there is a little bit that's a little bit tough to call. Now, I'm interested in wonder what people's opinion on the Oregon Ohio State game. Now, Ohio State is favored in this game by 2.5. And Ohio State could have easily won that first game. Uh if it wasn't for that bonehead play, of course, against Oregon. But Oregon has a lot of speed, and they got some playmakers out there. So that's going to be an interesting game too. I think Ohio State is going to want revenge for that loss. I think they really feel that they could have beat Oregon, but I think Oregon is out to prove that they are legitimately the best team in college football. So, and then coming out and they're being undefeated and they're a dog. I think Dan Lanning gonna have those guys ready to go. So I think I'm a roll with Oregon right now. I mean, I think I'm a roll with Oregon, and it's kind of crappy how they got two Big Team, two Big Ten teams playing in the second round. I don't understand. And that's another thing. I don't understand that matchup. It's kind of like, okay, why are they playing this far in the quarterfinals? But hey, I'm not on a committee. I don't make the bracket, so that is what it is. You know. So the question is, okay, Arizona. I mean, I don't know what people see in Arizona State. If they come out, I know they got a good quarterback and he's been rock solid, but they haven't played anybody like Texas all year. They haven't. We can look. here and see. Arizona State. Let's go down here. Okay. Well, let's see here. They lost Texas Tech early in the season, so that's a misnomer. And then they went on a winning streak. Okay, they beat KU, and that's a KU, not a bad squad, not on Texas caliber, but not a bad squad. And hey, Bree, how you doing? All right, and they beat Utah. Utah had a down year, of course, so they beat them 27-19. Cincinnati. Yeah. Cincinnati had a down year. They lost to Cincinnati. Oklahoma State, they're horrible. UCF, down year. Kansas State, that's a decent football team, and they won at Kansas State, so that's no slouch. I can't take that from them. BYU, I'm a little suspect on the BYU team, but they beat them, Arizona, and Iowa State. So it's like none of those teams right there match up with or could any way compare to Texas when you just look at that. I mean, I look at them and I think it's rightfully deserved that they are a 2 touchdown dog, and it can get ugly quick. They got to hope for some turnovers and hope that they could make it competitive that way. But just to line up and just go smash mouth with them, yeah, I don't see that happening. So, okay, well, we're going to wrap this up for the day, and I appreciate everybody attendance. I appreciate you, John, there for your support. And if you come back and if I'm wrong about that Arizona State game, you tap back in because I'll be the first one to say that I'm wrong. All right, guys, I appreciate your time. My name is D Hamp with Zone In Sports. Remember to subscribe, like, and I'm out.